This is Rip the Fence.
Call me Big Daddy.
Presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Time for yeah, you damn right I got time out there.
Also brought to you by Hercules Tires.
Joining the studio of Sean Buckley, also known as JackSlash. What's up, brother?
It's on my arm. We're here, man. Good old COVID teen lockdown here in Southern California. Just trying to make the best of it.
Where are you at in Southern California?
I'm about 7 miles south of Ventura Raceway. I'm in Oxnard in the Channel Islands Harbor here on Party Hard Boulevard.
Wow.
Party Hard Boulevard.
That's right.
Has everybody been partying hard down there still?
Always, man. Last Friday here, we the parking lots, I'm 100 yards. If you go out this way right here, 100 yards, it's the water, okay? So there's a parking lot at the end of our street, which they've closed. And there's another one for the bigger beach, which they've closed. But you can still go out and surf. You can't sit on the beach, but you can walk on the beach. Totally bizarre out here. It's totally bizarre. I can't get a haircut, but I could go down the street and get myself an apple fritter. So, anyways, so yeah,
crazy.
It's bizarre. It's crazy out here, dude. I mean, and the thing is California has 55 million people in the entire state. So I think Indiana has 6. So kind of do the math there. There's a lot of people here wanting to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Why are you living back there with all the stuff that's going on in Indiana? I mean, obviously now it's, probably a good reason to be back there, but with all the stuff that's going on in Indiana, why did you move back?
What's going on in Indiana? What did I miss?
Well, no, I mean, just with all of this pandemic stuff that's going on, you're fine to be in Florida because you're not missing, or in California because you're not missing anything in Indiana. But I'm just saying, with all the sprint car racing and stuff that's in Indiana, why did you move back to California?
Because all the sprint car racing's in Indiana. No, I'm kidding. No, to be honest with you, man, I mean, it's a lot of people don't realize this, but I'm 42 years old. You know what I mean? I'm 8 years away from 50, and I've been shooting videos since 1993. And I moved to Indiana in 2004 to do exactly what you guys are doing, to do podcasts, to do television, to do video, to do all these wonderful things. And I spent 15 years in Indiana, going up and down, the highways and the byways, Johnny Cash style. I've been everywhere, man, staring out the windshield filled with bugs, and it got to the point where it's like, I started checking things off the list. When you start off your career at the very beginning, you go, what would I like to do? What's doable? What's not doable? What's a fantasy and all that stuff, But over that time, that 15 years of living in Indy, I checked a lot of cool things off the list, and leaving Southern California, where I'm from, the beach specifically, I'm a beach kid. I grew up surfing. I grew up in the skate culture, and I grew up in the music culture here, and it's big here. And it was a huge sacrifice for me to go to Indiana and do all that. I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot, and but after 15 years of my life being there, it was time to come home and get back in the sun and the palm trees and get back to doing the things that I want to do. Because in that 15 years as racers, and you guys know this, when you're caught up in this racing culture, when you're all in it, you have to be all in it. And there's no other way. And when you make that commitment that I did, like so many guys do, you got to be all in it. There's no time for anything else. There might be a basketball game or a baseball game you might catch on an off day somewhere. But when you're in racing 24/7, there's no time for nothing else. And I finally got to the point in my life where I'm going to be 40 years old, and I want to spend the next half of my life doing the things I want to do, like getting back in the water and surfing and make movies with my friends here in LA and do a lot of the things and get my music stuff, kick back off. So still love racing, still do it, still involved, just not as deep as we
Yeah, that's right.
As one of the kind of chiseled veterans of the video industry in the sprint car world, what do you think of all these young new kids that are coming in? I mean, obviously there's a new wave and everything, but what do you think about them?
I'm an oddball. I really am. I mean, I'm an oddball. I mean, I never graduated high school, and none of this was supposed to happen. None of it. grew up in a house full of like 6 or 7 people in a 2-bedroom house. I get called Sean. It's not even my real name. You know what I mean? There's a lot of just odd things going on. But as far as growing up, I took a lot of how I grew up and the people around me and tried to bring it into sprint cars. And that's kind of how the JackSlash side of things came to be. But I don't know. I just kind of always wanted to do things differently and have a different take. And I was kind of hoping that there'd be some guys coming up that would do things a little differently. And there's a couple people out there that are kind of doing their own thing. I think Chaz Thompson, he's an interesting character, that's for sure. I see a little bit of JackSlash in that guy. I'm not going to lie. I see a little bit of old school JackSlash in Chaz Thompson. And I'm real big on taking risks. I'm not real good on following the rules. I don't know why, but it's more of a punk rock style, I do what I want kind of thing. And it's just who I am. But I just want to see these younger guys take some risks. I want to see these younger guys kind of break through, because our culture is very weird. This current racing culture is just very weird. And to me, it's very vanilla and it's very bland. And a lot of people, like I said, they're just not really taking risks. I mean, if you're going to interview this person or that person or do something, just come up with some new stuff, and drivers included. It's during this pandemic, this lockdown, I was really hoping and expecting to see some guys come up with some really, really original stuff. Like, all right, here's the time to bring the community together in a vibey, positive way. And if it's like, nope, we're going to go do iRacing all the time. You know what I mean? It's not, hey, let's get a charity together. Let's bring the community together in a positive way. We're in such a rush to get back to the track. It's okay to build models, do music, draw, write, be with your family, garden. I mean, racing is great. We all love it, but there's more to it, guys, because there's going to come a day when racing stops giving back what you've been putting in and you're left with nothing. Mm-hmm. You got to start over. So you better start now, broadening your horizons and really diving in and taking this COVID thing, this lockdown seriously and finding a new passion, a new side hustle. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, no doubt. So your love and passion for racing, I assume, started at Ventura Raceway. Have you always been in that area?
Yes. Yeah. I grew up here, born and raised 1978. My dad, he got me in it. Matter of fact, it goes back even farther than that. My grandfather ran midgets in the 40s. He owned midgets and jalopies. A bunch of guys ran for him here in Southern California, SoCal. Midget racing, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, form of auto racing. And a lot of it happened here. My grandfather was involved, and passed it on to my dad. My dad was really good friends with Johnny Mance. If you guys know who Johnny Mance is, he won the very first Southern 500 at Darlington for NASCAR. In fact, he drove a car from Long Beach here all the way to South Carolina, drove it all the way back here. They gave him a brand new one. So those are the kind of guys my dad got to grow up around. Walt Faulkner, Troy Ruttman, all those guys. Johnny Mance. Mance was the first one to run the 98 Junior for Agaginian. So that's who my dad got to grow up around. And then, he passed the racing passion on to me. And, all started at Ventura, man, 1978. I was about this big in 1978. So, yeah.
You raced, but at what point did you decide that you wanted to do the video side of things?
I did it at the same time. Same time. I got a lucky break from a guy. I was working at Cruisman School doing the video, and this guy come through named Price Movius. He goes, "Hey, man." And at that time, I was really cut weight. I was in early 20s, Southern California. Got to look good for the ladies, especially if you're going to drive race cars. And especially if you want to keep fitting in your driver's suit every spring. But anyways, this guy, let me run sprint cars, and
how fun!
Simple as that.
The sprint car thing was fun. We got to do a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time. I ran on and off for about 3 seasons. And at that time, the SCRA sprint cars here were huge in the early 2000s. I mean, this was long before the USAC CRA series. It was SCRA, and it was Cruiseman, Gasman, Ripper, all the guys. And I got to race the local 360 deal at Ventura, which was great. I mean, it was a really good deal at that time, 35, 40 cars on the regular. And they run 2 B mains, take 2. But the cool thing about racing at Ventura at that time it was a big group of people, friends. that we all raced. And it was all young people. Like you go into the pits, it'd be young girls in their 20s, dudes in their 20s. And every night after Ventura Saturday night, we go to our buddy's Greg's house and we have a big after party. And it was like something you'd see in the movies, like the Dogtown skateboarding movies. You know what I mean? Like you see these giant parties with people, blowing through wooden fences, and I'd be drinking a 40. You guys ever had a 40? You ever drink in a 40 in your life of Old English?
Oh yeah.
Not all the way through.
Not a whole
Yeah.
It's going to be the sickest you've ever been in your life. I come in one time to the party and I had a 40 in a paper bag, like the guys doing the old videos. And I come in drinking it at 40, and I got about halfway down to where it was cold, and I'm like, okay, this is okay. Then it got to it's a 40 ouncer, dude. It's a lot of beer. So the second half was warm, but I powered it down, and it was the very first time that I ever had to have somebody drive me home in my own truck, and it was my girlfriend, and she knew how to drive stick. So I was like, I got a good one.
To win.
And then we broke up. So there's that.
Why is it? Why is it now that the younger generation just doesn't seem to be all that interested?
Well, I think a lot of guys are interested in racing and whatnot. I just think it's tough, man, because that's a tough one to answer. I mean, I think you're always going to have the buddies. You know what I mean? Like the buddies. You're going to have the driver. You're going to have the driver's buddies. But for some odd reason, man, I just think we need a shakeup. I think racing needs a complete racing shakeup, top to bottom. And I don't know. I mean, I try to live in my own little culture and try to live in my own little world and try not to follow really any trends. I've done that, and I don't feel right doing it. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Racing's in a weird spot. There's no other way to put it. Racing's in a weird spot, and it's only going to get even weirder when we start racing in front of no fans.
When you first started JackSlash and you were kind of doing some of the OG JackSlash stuff, like the crazy videos and like all that, what was the reception to all of that? Like from race fans or racers? Like you had your buddies and stuff, but like what was the general public's thought on all of those?
The general public on the JackSlash stuff at that time. Now, keep in mind, man, MySpace was really the only thing popping as far as social media. No Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, none of that. So I kind of saved this because a lot of the things that went on during that time, as far as the parties and all the chess fests and all the crazy parties, the only camera that was going was mine.
Yours.
You know what I mean? So, and we were really, believe it or not, very responsible as far as what we were putting out. It was calculated. Like as everything that we do is calculated. It might not seem like it, but it is. But as far as the reception of it, I would say 99.9% of the people responded well. I mean, we were doing the JackSlash live show every week from me and Schumann's house, and we were talking about the most outlandish stuff. And of course, Dirty Danita and the Divas came on, and it was bizarre. I'm not going to lie, man, because it got to a point where you almost felt like Axl Rose. Like you could literally light fires and knock over cop cars and do anything you want, and it's all good because the majority of the scene, the majority of the racing people love what you're doing. So you're like, hey, man. I mean, but there was a handful of people that didn't like it. And which is funny because I go back and look at some of that stuff and I'm like, ugh, dang. Because it's 2020 and that was like 05, 6, 7, 8. And it's like, this is like 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. And it was a complete different society. Racing was completely different. There was one racetrack that would not let me in. They're like, we don't support what you do. We don't like what you do. And I'm like, really? I said, that's weird. I mean, I get it, but that's funny because there is a lot of people that enjoy what we're doing, and those people buy pit passes. Those people buy your shirts. Those people support your races, and they're all here. All the people that support what I do, you're letting them in. The one person, you know what I'm saying? It's just bizarre. Like racing is and was and still is a very archaic, very old school thing. That's part of the charm of it, but yet again, I think we could do better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think the coolest part of your website was the documentaries that you created, the Chasing the Corn, the one about, Jesse Hockett.
Yeah.
You seem to have a great passion for making documentaries, and they were always really good.
Ah, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. One cool thing about growing up here, especially in the town that I grew up in, a little town called Ojai, and Ojai has always been it's like an oasis. It really is. It's tucked in the mountains, avocados, oranges, citrus, artsy, earthy, actors, musicians. So growing up around that, in addition to racing people, I grew up around those types of people, going to school with, actors' kids and just knowing people, and seeing people constantly, running into them. So when that's your reality, you love watching movies. And when you love watching movies and want to make movies, and one of your biggest loves is racing, you kind of want to just mold the two. And that's kind of how it happened. I grew up watching Bruce Brown movies on any Sunday, motorcycle movie, Endless Summer, surfing movies. Bruce Brown we want to talk an OG. This was the filmmaker of filmmakers. He's basically like the Dick Wallen of surf films. But grew up doing that, and then basically was taking a shower one morning and decided that I needed to make a documentary. And we made 3 of them, The Fall of the Corns, and we've done other documentaries. But The Fall of the Corns were great. They were fun to make. I don't know if they were great films per se, but they were fun to make. And at that time, again, it was just a different time. We made the first one 10 years ago. And it's just fun, man. It's fun telling stories. And one reason why, Indiana is not as appealing to me anymore is I got tired of climbing up on top of the grandstand and just shooting cars, going in circles 120 times a year. It's fun to get into the pits, especially I started doing it in 93. You know what I mean? So it's like you start shooting videos from the grandstands in 93, and here it is 2020 or 19. You're like, can we change it up a little bit? So getting down into the pits and doing documentaries and tapping into that creative side is something I really, really enjoy. I'm not a robot. You know what I mean? I'm not a robot. I can do video and this and that, but I like to do different stuff too.
How tough is it for guys like you to make a living doing what you do? Because it's not, racing in general is not always a money-making endeavor, but I know for, you photogs and videographers, it's hard. It's hard to do that when you're, to grind, to shoot 120 races a year and do that and, make enough money to feel like it's worth your time. So like, how did you go about doing that and kind of branding JackSlash in a way that, it paid dividends for you?
I just stole everybody's ideas, honest to God. That's straight up. I looked at movie directors and producers and movie people I liked and people that inspired me. I'm a YouTube whore. I'm always watching YouTube, getting ideas and business ideas. And even back then, when I was like 15 or 16, this is going to be funny. When I was 15 or 16, my cousin Michael, who was much older than I was, he got me involved in Amway. And he's like, oh, we need to help Sean. He's not doing good in school. Let's get him involved in something here. He can learn numbers and learn business and learn people, wear a suit and wear a tie, and we can go to functions and we can start cheering and be a part of this wonderful cult. Well, I didn't enjoy that wonderful cult, but a few things that I did, learn was business and learning people. And I guess I thank my dad for that, of being a talker and being a little bit out there as far as telling stories. But that's really kind of how it all goes down for me.
So who were some of the characters that kind of drew you to Indiana? And do you have some good stories and crazy stories of some of these guys who were just average people but were ungodly, not human inside of a race car?
Wow. Yeah. The last 15 years, if I look back at the last 15 years of my time in Indy, a lot of guys stick out to me, which is interesting because, when I moved to Indy, we were just kind of getting off of the SCRA thing. And to me, the SCRA thing was huge. CRA at Ascot was great, and it is, and it was. And SCRA came along with, Cruiseman and Rick Williams and the Gas Man and all these, Ron Schumann. And then when moving to Indy, I was like, okay, I know the Indiana scene, but, you don't really know about the local scene. You know what I mean? That's one thing that, the people didn't really know a lot of all over the country is how good some of the locals are, because they never really got any recognition. And once I got there, I'm like, who the hell are these guys? You know what I mean? So I got to like a lot of the locals, and each track obviously had their good guys. But as far as characters are concerned, you know, there's a few guys that really stick out. I mean, obviously Meserol, that's an easy one. That's a layup. But Billy Puterbaugh. I mean, Billy Puterbaugh, you know, we're similar. I think that's why we get along so well. But, you know, he comes from a racing family. His dad was a maniac on and off the racetrack, and Billy's a maniac on and off the racetrack. But Billy was good. Billy won championships. And he knew how to race. He knew how to set up a car. He knew how to build a car. He knew how to weld a car. And he was funny. I got endless stories about Puterbaugh. But, I mean, Jesse Hockett was another one. Some of the interesting things about Hockett, though, is that people don't realize, like when you show up in a stacker, that doesn't mean that you have like $100 grand in the bank to just blow. And Hockett did not have a lot of operating cash when he came up to Indy and ran USAC for that season or 2 seasons. And I had never seen a guy at that era, at that time, make so much out of so little. You know, if it meant running bent Nerf bars, if it meant running old tires, and hell, Casey Schumann was the same way. I'd seen that guy many times, go to the backyard of some dude, go grab a tire that's half buried in the backyard, no joke, pull it out, wash it off, flip it, put it on the wheel, run it, and go win a feature of Putnamville. That's racing to me. Mm-hmm. You know, that's awesome. You know, John Stambro is another guy. I mean, yeah, these are all great racers, all guys that are winners, you know, but John Stambro was another one. I'll tell you a great story about Stambro. I mean, a lot of people have this opinion about John that he's quiet, he's this, he's that, and he is all those things, but he's also a great human. And you want to talk about the Fall of the Corn film, he was in the first one, and I showed him a rough cut of it. He goes, whoa, that's actually pretty cool, man. I like that. How do I get involved? I go, what do you mean? You're already involved. And he goes, no, how do we promote this thing? I said, well, I got to buy a bunch of DVDs. He goes, well, how much do those cost? And he told me to never tell this story, but I'm telling it now. And he says, well, how much does the DVDs cost? And I said, well, it's about $2,000 for the first run because I want to get them professionally done. He goes, okay. So he reaches in his wallet and hands me his credit card. He goes, just put them on my credit card. And I'm like, what? I go, no, dude, that's not what this is. This is not why you're in this. This is not what this is. He goes, no, people need to see this. I'm like, okay. So about a week later, I show back up. He goes, just pay me back whenever. So a week goes by, and I show up to his shop there in Brownsburg. And I take a $20 bill, and I stuff it in an envelope, and I walk up with a straight face, walk in. I said, hey, man, here you go. He goes, oh, thanks, man. And I could see, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah. As he's looking, he's like, what's this? And I go, that's my payment. He goes, $20? He's like, well, probably going to take a lot longer to pay me back than I thought. No worries, man, no worries. So then I reached in my pocket and handed him the other $1,800 in cash. And all was good. But yeah, man, John Stambro, I don't know. There's Bud Katie for sure. You can't talk about my Indiana experiences without Bud Katie. And Bud was like I don't even know, man. And I'm not going to say he was the Axl Rose of Brownsburg because he wasn't a thrasher. He didn't break. Actually, he did karate chop Matt Hummel's mirror off his truck once. He did do that. He did do that. But yeah, Bud Kading, he's in that. One time we were involved in a drive-by shooting. I will tell you that. It was me, Schumann, Bud, Tim Kading. There was about 20 of us. And we're at Kelly's Pub there at Indy, the old Kelly's Pub, man, God rest. And so it's about 3 o'clock. We're all in Kelly's AM. And I got to go number 2. And I go into the bathroom at Kelly's, and it looked like a murder scene. It looked like it hadn't been clean in about 10 years. I'm like, ugh. So I'm like, all right. So I walk across the street to this gas station. Again, 3:15 in the morning. I walk across the street to the gas station. I look over, and I see about 4 cars parked around the pumps and a bunch of dudes standing outside. And when I say a bunch of dudes, I'm talking like khakis and what do you call those with the flannels, with the chucks.
Yeah.
Some real G's.
Yeah.
And I can hear as I'm walking
some
up.
Indianapolis West Siders.
Yes, yeah. So I'm walking across the street, and I could hear these guys going, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy?" I'm like, "Just keep looking forward, man. Keep looking forward." So I go inside, handle my business. As I walk outside, they're still there, and they're still like, "Oh, here's this guy again, man. Here's this guy again." I'm like, "Oh." So I go over across the street. I get in Schumann's truck, which was like a little Chevy Colorado, not a big truck. Just as I get in my truck, now it's like 345. Tim Kading pulls his Chevy 1500 next to mine. He goes, "Are we going to get out of here or what? We need to go get those guys inside." As soon as he says that, pop, 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 pop. Shots ring out everywhere.
Wow.
Bullets flying, glass breaking, cars burning off. And I'm like, I'm trying to get down, okay? And the center console on Schumann's truck was about this high. So I couldn't get down enough. You know what I mean? So I'm like, what do I do? So I open up the door, and Tim's yelling at me. He's all, "Stay calm." Taking bullets. And this is no joke. So I open the door, and I run around, and as I'm looking above like the dash and the door to the truck, I could see these guys chasing each other around the pumps. And the guys in the passenger seat, the front, are sitting on the door shooting. Pop, pop, pop. We're like, what? Glass breaking out. You can hear the bullets coming by. So I got out and went to the back of the truck and was ducking down. As soon as I did that, here they come into my parking lot. And they go right by me, looking at me, and they're laughing. They were laughing. So we went in there, we pulled these guys out, and hot walked Schumann and Bud and everybody else were like, "Oh, let's go to Taco Bell, man, this is awesome." We're like, "No, get in the car." But anyways, yeah, you guys don't know what just happened. Yeah, so me and Tim, we had a little rainbow connection there, and we still do over that moment. So yeah, it was wild.
So I sadly missed the Kelly's Pub days by a few years, but I've always heard about it. And Mills had a Facebook thread the other day of people that were just going in there and sharing a bunch of their favorite Kelly's stories. What made that place just so special and like so, so crazy and legendary? Stuff like that, I guess.
When I first started going in there, it was the Sprint Week era, late 90s. And at that time, it was literally the hangout. Guys got rides there, sponsors there, actually got race car rides there as well. All sorts of fun stuff. There's a great story out there of a friend of mine. This was Kelly's Pub. Okay, this will sum up Kelly's Pub to a T right here. A friend of mine who used to race sprint cars at Putnamville 9,000 years ago, Kelly's was the stop. When you ran Putnamville on Saturdays, you went straight to Kelly's Pub. And he'd drive the truck and trailer straight there. Wouldn't even drop it off. So he tells me this story one night. He meets this girl. They start hanging out at the bar, start talking. He goes, "Well, honey, we going back to your trailer or mine?" She goes, "We can go back to my trailer. I live on 10th and Raceway. Let's go." And he's like, I was actually kind of kidding. And then he said he woke up the next morning with a kid standing at the foot of his bed with a cereal bowl and a spoon and asking his mom what's for breakfast. I'm like, dang, that's Kelly's Pub to a T right there. But we had a JackSlash party there one time, and we were so out of control. That people were throwing up on the windows. On the windows.
In the bar.
Yeah, like thinking it was outside. Blah, that's all over the. I'm like, okay, no more JackSlash. And then the Speedway goes, "Hey, we got the flag room open over here, over in the Speedway bar off of Turn 2. We need to have your show over here." I'm like, why not? So we went over to the Speedway, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and did our JackSlash show for like 2 months. And then they closed up or something happened. But yeah, man, just a wild deal. It's been a lot of fun. I'm still having a great time. I'm 100% taking full advantage of this time to really, because the last 2 years I'd taken a break. Even though I was on the road last year with Flo and everything, it didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. I've still kind of had this weird little push-pull with racing the last 2 years, getting back introduced to SoCal life and lifestyle here, because it is way different and it's something that I wanted. So racing was kind of like, still a business, still my job, but it was, as far as the day-to-day interest, wasn't quite there. But anyways, yeah, man, it's good to be home and all that jazz.
Well, it was really cool to have you on. Unfortunately, I am poor and I'm not paying the $40 or the upgrade for this Zoom. So
it's okay. It's okay. We still got 7 minutes left. I'm a TV guy. We can milk this thing all the way down to the final second. I got to ask you guys a question. Have you guys ever seen the movie Dirty Driving, The Real Thunder Cars of Indiana?
We had McCord on last week, and we talked to him about it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
We had McCord on last week. I told him that's the greatest thing to ever come out of Anderson.
Really? Okay. So that's funny. That's good because I think there's a scene in there where they had one of the guys is wearing McCord's uniform.
Yeah. That's right.
The Hat World.
Uh-huh.
So old JackSlash radio stuff. MySpace. Was it MySpace? I don't remember. It was MySpace. I found Sammy Hawkins on MySpace. I said, yo, bro, you want to be on a radio show? We want to talk about your HBO deal. He goes, yeah, man. We had him on for like 30 minutes. 2 weeks later, I'm at the VP or the BP, whatever it's called, getting a soda at the gas station. And I see this guy filling up the tanks with the big tanker, the fuel. And I look at this guy and I go, no way, man. Sammy's dad, Paul. And he had the same Tijuana hat on. I swear to God, Tijuana, Mexico hat. So I walked up. I said, hey, are you Sammy Hawkins' dad? He says, yes, I am. I'm Paul. I said, I'm a big fan. He goes, come on over here. We step up into the truck, and he goes, and he hands me 2 4x6 photos of the new car. He goes, you can keep those. I'm like, this is awesome. But so the cool thing is, so we grew up with the whole Dirty Driving, Real Thunder Cars. I've actually met some of the guys, and I was actually able to receive a gift, okay, from the movie, from Sammy, from my friend Rico, okay? And I got a gift from the movie, from the film. I'm going to show this to you guys. So you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Check this out, dude. This is the painting that hung in Sammy's house. This is the painting, okay? This is the painting. Look, I did it right. I know what kind of show this was. So that's the painting. Awesome. And if you turn it around the back, it says, take care of her. I've had her a long time. Slammin' Sammy Hawkins.
See, I'd always heard that you had that poster, and I believed it, but now I've seen it. So,
dude, this thing, it's 100% felt. It's not even paper. It's felt. It's unbelievable, man. And we haven't given her a name yet. It kind of looks like my girlfriend. I can't call her that, but anyways, yeah, man.
That's awesome. That's one of a kind.
That's the greatest documentary in history.
It's a good one. It makes you want to take a lot of showers after. Don't you feel that way? Like you want to just take a bath after you watch that, but it's still good. It's still fun. That's the thing. We don't want to trash the sport, but we definitely need to elevate, and we definitely need to break some rules and have some people really kind of get creative and do some creative stuff. And we need some drivers and people to kind of break the mold and whatnot. Who knows? Maybe we need to get that guitar, and I need to finish up these songs. We can do a tour. We can do a country rock tour, race tour.
But we need to do. I'll be your bass player.
Yeah, you got a bass player here.
The world needs to hear the Dave Darlin song. So we might have to debut the Dave Darlin song at some point.
We might have to. Buck, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's been awesome.
Hey, man. My pleasure, guys. Hope everybody's staying sane out there. And quit drinking so damn much. I keep hearing all these people that are drinking too much and beating up their kids and their wife and all this. Come on, let's clean it up. Let's get the community together, man. Let's not be in that big of a hurry to get back to the races. I want to see the full grandstands.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's just smart. Let's get our stuff right and tight and then attack. Let's not be in such a hurry. That's
right.
Anyways, yep. All right, we got 2 minutes left, boys.
See you, man.
Hey, by the way, hold on. I got one more quick question for Dillon. You got a chaw in? You got a chaw in?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
It looks like you got a little chaw on the right side. Okay.
No.
I don't know if you did. I don't know if you chewed or not. Bill.
Nope. Right. I don't got anything in.
I don't know. Maybe you fell down or something. I don't know. All right, boys.
Later.
Thanks, man. All right, guys.
See ya.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area. Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Wherever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. You can count on Hercules Tires to have your back when times are tough, all while adding money to your pocket. The purchase of 4 qualifying Hercules tires through May 31st, 2020 could get you up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. Visit HerculesTire.com/spring rebate to learn more. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Sean Buckley, also known as JackSlash. You can go to JackSlash.tv to check out everything that Sean Buckley does. Dillon, we have about 2 minutes. Let's go through this quickly. Our hat shakes of the week presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Who do you got?
Man, I shouldn't be surprised by this, but you put me on the spot every week, and I don't ever think about who I'm going to give my hat shake to. So I don't know. It's tomorrow is the last race of the USAC iRacing Challenge on iRacing. So that's been fun for Chase Rodman and I to get to announce, and it's been fun that everybody's still participated and enjoyed it. And I guess I'll give my hat shake. Can I give my hat shake to the folks at USAC for putting on an iRacing event to give us some non-wing fans something to watch?
Yeah, do that. That's a good one. I'm going to give mine to the Jefferson International Speedway for hosting the first live dirt race of the year. And Parker Price Miller ran out of gas and lost the race. So did Aaron Reitzel, I guess. But
the Outlaws are going back racing next week.
They are?
Knoxville. No fans.
Serious?
On Friday.
Oh, wow. Hat shake going to them, too. Kendra Jacobs and everyone over at Knoxville for going racing there. Man, it's pretty awesome. Before we go, we got less than a minute. PristineAuction.com. You can register with our very own promo code RIP. Free $10. Go to PristineAuction.com and register. Dillon, 89's in the books. We'll do it again next week.
All right. It's a good one. Coming up to 90 here.
Yes, it is. We're coming up to 90. 90 is next week. See you later.